Hello everybody, welcome back to an episode of Red Dead Redemption Character Analysis. It's been a while since we did the last episode, and in fact it's been a long while, but that's how it goes. I didn't get a chance to really make character analysis, and I just apologize all around. It's been a while since we did the last one, but like I said in yesterday's video, we're going to be bringing back a lot of stuff, so we'll be coming back with character analysis and all that stuff, and I'll be doing a lot better with the consistency of it. So we're just going to cut straight to the chase here. We're back with Red Dead character analysis. We're going to finish up all the Red Dead 1 characters, then do the Red Dead 2 characters, and finish the Red Dead character analysis as a whole for both games. So that's the plan here. Be more consistent with it. Apologies for not being consistent with it beforehand, but we're back here. And today we're going to be talking about Colonel Allende, which he is the governor of. Well, I'm not sure the governor. In Red Dead 1, he's the ruler of Mexico, which we're gonna read all that in the Red Dead Wiki, of course, which is where I get all my info from. Great site. But if you see here in the gameplay, that's him. And he's pretty. I figured I'd make a character analysis on him because in the Mexico chapter, he's very important in terms of that segment of the game. So I figured to make a character analysis because of his importance, because and he has a lot of significance to John and like how the story plays out, at least in the Mexico chapter. So he's a big enough character for me to make a character analysis on him. So I'm going to be reading a little bit from the wiki here. So Colonel Agustin Allende is a major character and antagonist featured in Red Dead Redemption. And then with the addition of the Liars and Cheats DLC pack, Colonel Allende is also a multiplayer character model that may be selected in the Damnation section of the Outfitter, which you'll see gameplay of him in the Liars and Cheats pack in multiplayer later in this video when it switches there. So his background is Allende was born in 1858 and is a colonel in the Mexican Army and is provincial governor of the state of Nuevo Progreso under the Mexican President General Ignacio Sanchez, and he is responsible for suppressing the rebellion in the Nuevo Progreso territory led by Abraham Reyes and doesn't care who he kills or what he must do in order to achieve his goals. Allende came down from a privileged landowning family. Javier Escuela's father worked on a ranch owned by Allende's uncle, which is implied by his family of Spanish origin, and from his in-game dialogue and impervious attitude towards Mexico's citizens. Many years ago, Allende was an idealist, but he became a vicious cynic with a love of torture and sexual abuse, which is some of it is shown in the game. He takes pleasure in all manner of vices, despite being corrupt and brutal. He's also quite intelligent. Allende lives in a high-class, fortified mansion on the highest ground of Escalera, enabling him to oversee the entire city from the comfort of his front porch. And it is known that Javier Escuela works for Allende as a hitman for hire, and by the time John Marston arrives in Mexico on the hunt for his old gang members, Escuela and Bill Williamson are already under his protection. Instead of killing him, Allende decides to manipulate John into aiding him against the rebels led by Abraham Reyes. It's very interesting. Allende as a character is very interesting just by his background and the fact that he is the Mexican colonel in the army and the provincial governor, as it did mention, which is very interesting. And I feel like we did talk about a little bit about this in Javier Escuela's character analysis and Bill Williamson's character analysis. This is just going more into that. So, after Martin's venture to Mexico, he decided to partly work with Allende, who was promised to deliver Escuela and Williamson to John, and Allende took advantage of John's skills to go on numerous missions with Captain Vicente de Santa and Captain Espinoza, and his many soldiers to massacre the rebels and capture young women for his, quote, personal pleasure. And eventually Allende went with John personally, claiming he has captured Escuela and Williamson, and that they were being held in the church ready for Marston to do whatever he wanted with them. However, Allende secretly betrayed him by having ordered De Santa to kill him after they arrived at the church. Marston's execution was interrupted by Abraham Reyes and his rebels just in time. While Captain De Santa escaped, Reyes, along with Marston and the rebels, took all of Allende's soldiers, along with Captain Espinoza, and Marston subsequently sided with the rebels and Reyes, who promised he would find Escuela and Williamson. While working with the rebels, Marston began helping them by killing more of Allende's soldiers, killing Captain De Santa, and either killing or capturing Escuela. And soon the rebels made the attack on Allende's villa, killing every one of his soldiers in the process, causing Allende and Williamson to lock themselves within the villa. And once the rebels broke down the door to the villa, Allende and Williamson tried to escape in an armored stagecoach, accompanied by 3 guards. The stagecoach has a Gatling gun on it, which I think is very interesting to mention. It was just an interesting thing to mention. Marston and Reyes chased after them on their horses, killing the colonel's guards and the driver off the carriage, causing it to stop. Allende, fearing for his life, surrenders from inside the carriage. He forces Williamson out of the carriage and then proceeds to pin him on the ground with a sword, and then pin him on the ground with his foot too, having him at sword point, if you will. The colonel tries to bargain with him, saying that Williamson was the one that Marston wanted, and promises Reyes that he will flee the country, and Allende and Williamson are then killed by either John Marston or Abraham Reyes, depending on whether the player decides to shoot them or hesitates and allows Reyes to shoot them instead. But either way, Allende and Williamson die, and that will be the end of Allende. And then obviously, if you know the game, Abraham Reyes eventually takes over Mexico and all that stuff. And we might do an Abraham Reyes character analysis, but that's to be decided. But he is also a major character in Mexico, just like Colonel Allende. So I might do a character analysis for him too. Now we're going to be describing, going a little bit of the extra here that the article or the wiki has here, like his personality and his appearance, which I think is very interesting. So we're going to go a little bit into that too. So this is a description of him. This gentleman is a 53-year-old sadistic military leader of a local Mexican province. The province is in the midst of a rebellion. Many years ago, Allende was an idealist, but he has become a vicious cynic with the love of torture and sexual abuse, takes pleasure in all manner of vices, and he is intelligent, corrupt, and brutal. And that was his description of Allende in the Game of the Year edition guide of Red Dead Redemption, which I actually have the Red Dead Redemption Game of the Year edition. You know what? That's interesting, actually. I haven't read the guide there. Interesting. Allende takes pleasure in all manner of vices. That's interesting. Including torture and sexual abuse. He is also very corrupt and brutal. Despite this, Allende is quite intelligent, like it managed. Allende has no problem betraying those he allies with if it means saving his own skin, selfishly attempting to leverage Bill Williamson in exchange for leaving Mexico, and he will also manipulate people for his own personal gain, as shown with John and his appearance. Colonel Allende, as per his title, dresses as a colonel would, and despite the heat of Mexico, his uniform is black, and dons many medals and honors on his chest, as if you see here in the gameplay. The cutscene, his hair is black, and he has a soul patch mustache. In pre-release artwork, Allende appeared fatter without a soul patch. And that's just some of the extra things I had here on the wiki, which I think is interesting. And then some of his quotes there will make a patriot of you yet. Sorry, why be sorry is the way of mankind, a fight between two forces. Don't shoot, here, take Williamson, just let me live. I will leave the country, I promise. And that was his last words. And that's pretty much it for Colonel Allende's character analysis. I know it wasn't wasn't the longest character analysis, it wasn't the bigger article, like some of the other characters, but I figured since he's such an important character, he is a very important character in the Mexico chapter, I figured it was important enough to make a character analysis on. Plus, I just think he's a very interesting character. His demeanor and like how they mention how brutal he is, they make a point of that, which I think is very interesting. And he's just, and especially his like political background of the Mexican Revolution and all that, which I really pay attention to, and I think is interesting as well. And just just how they describe him and how he is, and I think the fact that he's basically a dictator of his country, which is also another interesting thing. Just the whole character I think is interesting, and how especially the bigger role he plays in the storyline of Red Dead 1 in Mexico. I figured it was big enough to make a character analysis on, so a lot of it is indeed very interesting. So yeah, like I said, it wasn't the longest character analysis I've made, but interesting enough. Now, like I said, we'll be back to making regular character analysis, finishing up Red Dead, and I have lots of new games planned for it. So we'll be fully back with a lot of stuff here on the channel. So that being said, though, make sure to subscribe for more content, like the video, all good stuff, Discord, Twitch, Instagram, links in the description, and comment down below. What do you guys think of Colonel Allende? Do you like him as a character? Do you think he's horrible? Because honestly, some of the stuff he does is really horrible. Comment down below any of that stuff. What do you think? How important is he actually to the story? Because some might argue that he's a minor character and doesn't play too big of a role. I think he plays a big enough role, like I was saying earlier. So comment down all that stuff below. Let's discuss what you guys think. But yeah, with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode of Character Analysis, and I will see you guys in the next video.